Good afternoon. Welcome in to the Inquirer podcast, post-game podcast. And boy, this one changed. It went back and forth, but Illinois pulls it out 34-32 over number 21 USC. That's what we call a bounce back win as David Olano drills a 41-yard field goal as time expires to lift Illinois out of snatching a loss from the jaws of victory there for a while. They're up 14. Cole Valentine fumbles inside the 5-yard line. The second fumble Illinois had inside or close to the goal line. And Illinois finds a way to bounce back. Luke Altmyer leads the Illini on the drive. But most importantly, they ran the ball extremely well. Big bounce back for the offensive line that we will get into. So big game for Illinois football as they get their season back on track, Joey. And you were on the field as the students rushed the field. Give us a little bit of what that was like.
Yeah, it was elation. I think some of the students were just happy to be partying still, a party that probably started sometime at like 4 p.m. yesterday and has carried into today. You run into a couple coaches, a couple players out there, and it's a big win. And the way it went, a couple sides of, okay, got out of that one. But it's a really big bounce back win for this program. I think everybody felt that, and Illinois needed to come back with that kind of performance. And, you worried with a game like an opponent like USC that, hey, they could still play much, much better than they played against Indiana and still lose. Nearly happened, Jeremy, but you sneak out of there with David Olano's foot.
Well, Joey, the first hit as we go over hits and misses of this has to be Joey Wagner's prediction. If it weren't for Lincoln Riley's 2-point conversion call, which they got and was fantastic. That's really the NFL philosophy is if you're down 2 scores in the fourth quarter, go for 2. It really ups your chances of winning. So I really like that Lincoln Riley did that. But Joey, you almost nailed this one. You had 34-31, Illinois winning. That's a bold call. So take your victory lap here, man.
I don't know how much of a victory lap because I did not write it with a great deal of confidence. I didn't feel the best about that, but I knew when we talked about this on Thursday, I knew who the head coach at Illinois was. And you've just seen enough out of that guy to understand not only his approach, but I think most importantly, the way that everybody in that building gravitates towards it. I think we may have even talked about this at times on here. There was a column I had in 2022 that stayed on like the cutting room floor, right? That like these, and the theme of that, which still holds true, is these guys, these coaches, these players follow that dude's lead at every single turn. And he had a good approach. He wore what he needed to wear from last week. We talked about their controlled messaging throughout the week, and his coaches, his players, everybody responded in the way that they came out here. So I don't know how good. If I were a little more confident and sure-footed in my prediction, I would take a bigger victory lap, but just had a feeling that this was kind of setting up for a Bielema moment.
Yeah, my game-by-game prediction has been bad, but my preseason prediction, I actually had them exactly this, losing to Indiana, winning the other 4, but kind of right back on track. And that's got to be the biggest hit is this team's response from last week. Like, even if we came on here and they didn't have that last drive, the response was great from last week. This was a competitive game. You gave yourself a chance to win. So that response was big, but you felt like, oh no, they're going to have that great response. Play well, play physical, be the more physical team, kind of get back to playing Illinois football, but still lose because you shot yourself in the foot with a couple fumbles. USC is a really good offense, and their passing attack is really, really good. We'll dive into that. But that response was great. And then they had the response to adversity. The biggest problem that USC had is they gave Luke Altmyer and Illinois' offense a minute 55 left. I tweeted it then. The great news, you got 2 minutes left to score. The bad news is USC took the lead. But what a response by this coaching staff. We'll dive into Lunney. We'll dive into Bart Miller and the offensive line. But you mentioned it, the messaging from Brett Bielema. That's why I had confidence this would be a competitive game. I just thought USC might be too good, that Illinois might not have a chance to win. But this ends up one of Brett Bielema's best wins at Illinois, just metrically. USC certainly will fall a little bit, but they were number 8 in the FPI. They were number 12 in the S&P coming into this game. That would statistically be their best win to this point. Now, we'll see what the season is at the end. But the best win before that was South Carolina. Last year was number 15. Penn State in 2021 was number 17. So this is stacking up. Like, this is a great win just on the resume, Joey.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those that's going to be at the forefront of whatever bowl game we're talking about for this team, right? You win over USC at home. I still think that Duke win is going to age just fine, but that is one of the bigger wins of Brett Bielema's tenure, both in the metrics and, man, just in the feeling, right? I mean, just in the vibe. That was a big vibe win for Illinois football.
Yeah, I mean, think if they lose that game, right? We're sitting there going up and thinking about how our lives are just a little bit more difficult. Like if they lose that game, but to pull it out when you felt like you were the better team. Illinois was the better team today. So to come out and get the victory was significant. It's just a season changer because now, as I said, you come out of this 4-1, where I think everybody thought they would be 4-1. You go into Purdue, you'll be favored in that one. Purdue can be a little frisky, but you're a better team. They're not a great defense. And I think Illinois' offense showed what it's capable of today. And you just get your season back on track. And you just kind of wash that bitter taste out of your mouth because big noon kickoff was here. And it could have been another letdown, Joey. You didn't let it. You didn't let it. And that's a kudos to Brett Bielema, kind of shaking that stink of Illinois football of, oh, no, here we go again. His last 5 years of being able to get rid of that. And to have a veteran team and to have the messaging and to have the coaching to bounce back from a win that could have derailed your season. It didn't even derail a week.
Yeah, and I think there's been enough of those washing off the stinks of Illinois, like this is Illinois football over the course of the last 5 years, that we should be pretty far removed from that when we look at Illinois. But there are moments like Indiana where it crops up and everyone waits for Lucy, right, to take the football. But he's been really, really good in those moments. So that was interesting yesterday, talking to Rob Stone. He had some media availability. And I think there was kind of how are fans going to come out for this, right? How is this going to be big noon kickoff? You're coming off of a 53-point loss. What's the attitude going to be? What's the atmosphere? Can I jump ahead to a hit? The hit was Illinois fans showed the hell up to Champaign today. They rushed in this morning for big noon kickoff and the Barstool show. Some of the students got out of here at halftime. It was pretty warm.
You talked your shit to Dave Portnoy. Loved it.
Yeah, Illinois fans showed all the way up for this. And, we talked about it last week pretty honestly, right? Like, man, you got big noon kickoff coming in after this kind of performance. You kind of get a little, uneasy there. But shout out to the fan base for rolling into this thing and staying with it after a 53-point game, because that was – we saw it on here, we saw it on the board, saw it on social. The attitude around the program, and how people looked at the program was a little rough.
Yeah. Okay. So earmuffs for the next 10 seconds, because I feel like I need to do this. My best Alex Pelcheski impression here. So earmuffs if you got the kids in the car or they're on the YouTube channel, giving you 2 seconds to do that. Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's going to do it.
My biggest hit, the Illinois fucking offensive line, Joey. What a performance. What a bounce back. Taking all the arrows, Bart Miller taking all the arrows, and deserved criticism after getting demolished at Indiana. I do like the staff. They all took the arrows together, right? It's not just on the offensive line. But this offensive line needed to play better. We've been critical of them, and I was especially critical after last game because they deserved it. This game, freaking stepped up, man. They owned this game from the start. I heard practices were really physical. Getting back to Illinois football, to what we've seen out of Bart Miller offensive line, especially late last season, it felt great to see them play the way you expect a Brett Bielema offensive line to play. 180 rushing yards. He had 38 rushing yards in a 2-minute drill to end the game, but they came out first drive of the game, Joe, and you could see there was something different. They were getting downfield 2 yards, 3 yards, and then Caden Fagan and Khalil Valentine could make a move 3 yards down the field. It was just downhill football. Set up your passing game for success. Set up Barry Lunney for success. But there was just an attitude and physicality against the USC defensive line that's pretty good, really good, especially rushing the passer. But Illinois just wore them down in that first half. In the second half, it looked like the USC's defensive line was tired. So kudos to Bart Miller, kudos to Barry Lunney, and kudos to Josh Kreutz, Josh Geske, J.C. Davis, Brennan Henderson, and Melvin Prusi. Best game of the year, the kind of performance we expected from this offensive line, but it came when they needed it most. They paved the way for what should have been 48 points today. So kudos to the offensive line. Phenomenal performance.
Yeah, this is the offensive line. Wasn't familiar with your game. What was that? Shaq's quote? I'm not very hip. I was familiar with the game last year. We haven't seen that out of them this year. They played very physical football, double teams, just hat on a hat, just going. I thought, they were They were impressive. Luke Altmyer's only sack, he said, hey, that's on me. I didn't see the corner. Screaming off. He said, I've never been hit that hard in my life. You know, that one's nowhere near the offensive line on that. I'd heard they'd gotten back to the basics this week. Bart Miller kind of indicated a little bit over the course of the week that, you know, maybe let some things go. It just kind of felt like they were getting away from themselves and getting away from what made them good. And I think they just went back to the things that they've done very well. And did it remind you a little bit, Jeremy, of Michigan last year in the sense of like they come in with this vaunted defensive front. Michigan had draft picks on that defensive front. USC has been very productive on the defensive front. And that's the game you think, man, this defensive front is going to be a problem. And it wasn't. And there's so much overlap between those two games and the way that offensive line came out.
One real negative play that was on the offensive line. They had one tackle for loss because that sack was just a free blitzer, great play call. Luke never saw him, held on the ball, but he just didn't see the guy. So that happened. Kudos to USC for that, for the one sack of the game. But man, they were just physical. That's what you expect out of Brett Bielema's crew. So you hope that's the spark, Joey, that gets them going. They're going to need it against Ohio State because that defensive line is ridiculous. That defensive front is ridiculous. But you play that way against Purdue, Washington, you can set the tone in that run game and just make Luke Altmyer's life a hell of a lot easier. So kudos to those guys. If you want to hop on that.
Yeah, can I build on that real quick? I just think that last drive, that 2-minute drive to set up for Olano's field goal, Brett Bielema knew he had 3 timeouts. He had a minute 55. There was no panic. They come out, 1st and 10 at the 25. You run. Pass goes nowhere to Caden Fagan. Caden Fagan, run. Defensive pass interference. Luke Altmyer, run. Caden Fagan, run. Caden Fagan, run. That's where that empowers your offensive line. When in a gotta have it, get down, get your kicker a chance. You're not panicking and trying to throw go 4 verts all the way down. You're being calm about it. You're letting your running backs run behind an offensive line that had paved the way all day, and the offensive line came through. I thought that felt like a really big moment to me, Jeremy, that in that moment in time, Brett Bielema alluded to it. I don't want to misquote him. He alluded to it in his press conference. We'll get through that and transcribe it, but that felt like something to me. That felt like an air of confidence for them.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive into the film. We'll probably do a little bit with Jay Lehman, but I don't know how much schematic was changed. It felt like some more gap runs, but I can't wait to dive into that to see what changed. But I asked Josh about what Bart did this week because, let's be honest, Bart's taking arrows everywhere this week, and understandably so. He said he coached his ass off this week. So they were my star of the game. The offensive line was my star of the game. All right, hit, Joey. What do you got?
Oh, gosh, I have some of these written down. Barry Lunney. Barry Lunney and that offense had an answer every single time that USC and that really, really good USC offense scored. Illinois came back every time. They left at least 10 points on the board with fumbles between Caden Fagan and Khalil Valentine. I thought Barry was confident in what he was doing, just the way they were running the ball. He got into his bag of tricks a little bit with the pass to Luke Altmyer from Hank Beatty, which feels like it's been in the works for a little bit. He went wild Beatty on that one play that ended up being a flag. I thought he kind of hit the pressure points when he needed to and got creative when he needed to, but he also it just felt like that was the identity of Illinois. We had talked about needing the pass to set up the run, but they ran the dang thing so well today that set up everything. And that's when we've seen this offense really operate at max capacity. We were saying the opposite for the first 4 games because it just hadn't worked with the run to set it up. But I thought Barry Lunney coached a hell of a football game today.
To your point, average distance on 3rd downs today, 4.9 yards. That's a hell of a lot better than 8.6 at Indiana, Joey. So that just sets everybody up for success. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to write my 5 takeaways after the game. Barry Lunney matched or did better, I think, because he should have had 2 more touchdowns if his running backs didn't fumble inside the 5-yard line. He outplayed and outcoached Lincoln Riley, right? I mean, Lincoln Riley's got more talent on his offense. Now, we'll talk about the quarterback for Illinois here in a minute, but Barry Lunney's a really good offensive coordinator. And I thought just staying ahead of the sticks, not having those negative plays really showed that because there was a lot of creativity, but then there was some simplicity too. Just going, yeah, we're going to run the ball and we're going to be physical and run it down your throats. And USC was on its heels the entire day. So I thought Barry Lunney was fantastic. The other part is, your quarterback's a dude. your quarterback's a dude. I went up to see Josh Krutz. He was talking to somebody else. He said, Jeremy, do you know how many game-winning drives that is for Luke? I said, I think 7. He's like, I think today was 8. I'm like, all right, you would know you're the center on these things.
That dude knows too. You 100% know that Josh Krutz knows that.
Yeah, and it's just like he said it. You give the ball to him with the game on the line, you just know good things are going to happen. Now, the offensive line did most of the work on that final drive, and the running backs did most of the work on that final drive, but Luke was so damn good today, so efficient. He was 20 of 26 for 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, runs for a touchdown. I love some of those designed runs for Luke by Lunney today, because you do need to use his legs. And I just think when he's a part of the running game, you got Caden and Khalil, and even Aiden contributed a little bit today after sitting out last week. That's just a dynamic rushing attack. But boy, made some big time throws. Hank Beatty got open, Colin Dixon. But to be honest with you, some of his guys did a lot of work. Colin Dixon after the catch on that hitch route, Caden Fagan on that screen route, but just operated the offense, commanded the offense, and just looked confident. I wondered after Indiana, Joey, how confident would Luke Altmyer be? Would he be looking too much at the pressure? He was protected today, and when you give him time and you give him a run game, he's as good as any quarterback in this conference.
Yeah, he's a dude. He is a dude. It's what we've talked about for, 14 games? By this point, I mean, when it really became clear, probably even going back to Kansas last year, he's got that factor. I wish I would have asked him. It's something to, I guess, put in our chamber to ask him at some point. It feels like when he uses his legs a little bit more of that swagger comes out, right? And he's able to kind of strut it a little bit. Real quick, shout out. Go ahead.
Do you remember when they used to talk about Bielema used to talk about how like Josh McCray would roll his shoulders? Luke gets that a little bit. When he runs a little bit, he talks some smack a little bit. Like he caught that touchdown and he ran for the touchdown. He was talking some smack. Like I do think that gets his competitive juices going.
Luke Altmyer had a few Jim Halpert look into the cameras and smile moments in the end zone. Shout out to Tanner Arkin on that keeper that paved the way for Luke Altmyer. Can we shout
out Colin Dixon, Hank Beatty, the wide receiver? Hank Beatty's been a hell of a blocker this year.
We got more hits. Hold on. I only have a few hits to play. My God, I can't have you take them here. I'm woefully ill-prepared. Luke Altmyer just kind of – okay, buddy. Guys next to me telling me to keep it down. You got it, pal. Luke Altmyer you give him a chance. Brett Bielema said you look over in the fourth quarter. Last drive, he looks back. He sees Luke Altmyer, kind of gives him a nod. He's like, there's no one else I would have wanted out there. He's earned that, right? He's earned that ability to have the ball in his hands and that trust to go make the play.
All right, can I give my first miss? And it's probably my biggest miss of the day.
Can I give a real quick hit to the Illinois wide receivers?
Yeah.
I thought, Luke Altmyer put some really, really well-placed passes for those guys, but that toe-tapping catch Hank Beatty had on the sideline was spectacular. I do not know how he came up with that catch. Colin Dixon and his yards after the catch. I just thought that wide receiver group. We do have to mention Malik Elsie, no longer with the team, intends to redshirt. Just get that out there. I saw someone asking, but you even look at like Justin Bowick on that play. I thought that wide receiver group played such good ball, and as you mentioned, the blocking on the Caden Fagan touchdown.
We do have more hits that we will get to. I just want to mention a miss because it was a big play in the game. A miss is, can we get the Big Ten to do what the ACC does and show us the reviews and be transparent? Because I need to know what happened on that Caden Fagan fumble. I need to know what they said. Is it just, hey, we don't have a clear shot, we can't overturn it? Because it sure looked like on the review that we saw on the screen that from that pylon down the sideline camera that he was down when he fumbled. And I asked Caden, I go, did you fumble or were you down? He said, I was down, but I can't put us in the situation where they can make that call. But still, man, like the ACC, what we saw last night in that Florida State-Virginia game, of being able to hear what they're talking about, I think it's great. It's so transparent. It takes out any thought of, foul play by the conference wanting this team to win or this team to win, especially going against a premier program like USC, because a few of those reviews were big plays. USC, that catch on the sideline, that tight end, McCree, you mentioned it, Joey, watching, pretty damn good player. But that one I wanted to hear, like, what went into that. So I just would have loved that. I think the Big Ten needs to adopt that because I think every sport, every in the world needs to adopt that transparent review just because it gives the fans to know, like, what actually went into that and just takes out any thought of foul play or, looking bad for the league. So I want the Big Ten to do that because I think we need a response of like, why was that not ruled down?
Yeah, I'm with you. No one's going to be mad about more transparency when you're talking about those plays. You might not agree with the outcome, right? But I think at least having the ability to have it explained to you would go a long way because it did look like Caden Fagan was out. I thought they even ruled the play dead. It was just kind of a pile there at the goal line. So, yeah, I would like to see whatever it takes for more conferences, for more networks to adopt that. Along those lines, big tackle from Colin Dixon. No one else was near him. Like, that would have been a touchdown. Colin Dixon was the only one, both following the play and close enough with the speed to stop that from going all the way. So that was kind of a sneaky, huge moment in the game was Colin Dixon's tackle there. But to the bigger point, yeah, more transparency is excellent.
Can't fumble inside the 5-yard line. Cool Valentine. That was a bad one. Hopefully the kid learns from that, but you just got to cover that ball up. You're inside that 5. That's what they're going for, man. 2 fumbles inside the 5-yard line. I think they're what? Were they 2 for 4, 3 for 5 inside the red zone today? Barry Lunney's been awesome inside the red zone the last couple of years. You can't not get points. 2 for 4 inside the red zone. That could have been disastrous, of course, Joey.
Yeah, 2 for 4. USC was 5 for 5. I thought that was you can't leave points like that, especially at the end of the first half. I mean, I get it. Like, the prevailing thought is Caden Fagan was down and there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it, but you were set up to double dip there and really give yourself a big cushion going into third quarter and a chance to take another touchdown lead or score another touchdown. So yeah, you got to be more clean inside that 5 and inside that red zone.
You got any other hits you want to hit on?
Let me.
I'm sorry, I stole your wide receiver blocker.
No, it's okay. You didn't know what you were doing.
Okay.
Run defense.
Love it.
It hadn't been a problem. It really hadn't through the first 3 games been that big of a concern. I thought the first couple drives at Indiana, it was good. And then that fourth quarter, absolutely kind of what Illinois had done to teams from a rushing standpoint previously in the fourth quarter. You come in, USC had 126 rushing yards on 34 attempts. That's 3.7 an attempt. Waymon Jordan,
take that.
Darn good player. Yeah, I thought that was a really encouraging response from them. Like, we talked about the offensive response and protecting Luke Altmyer, but that was a big response to him. 79 rushing yards in the second half. Of course, USC had to throw that and get back into it, but just really, really big. Didn't feel like one got away from Illinois, and that was they kept Waymon Jordan from making that big play.
2 runs of 10-plus yards against that USC team that was averaging 250 yards on the ground per game. That was really encouraging to me. One was Houston Longstreet coming in, the backup quarterback, and getting towards the goal line there. So to hold Jordan to that, Eli Sanders with 8 for 14 yards. He's an explosive guy. And Jaden Maevo, like, you did a great job of bottling him up. He did a great job of going off script, but you kind of kept him in the pocket. We didn't let him get loose with his legs. So I did think the run defense was encouraging after the Indiana game. Is it dominant? No, but I think it's a run defense that is shown. I think it is the strength of this defense. The miss is, Joey, USC got what it wanted through the air, especially in the second half. This pass defense is just – there's no answers, right? You gave up some big plays. You almost gave up another one if it wasn't for a USC penalty, which was a hit for Illinois. It was USC had way more penalties than Illinois, but 364 yards on 43 attempts. Part of that is USC is really good. I mean, that's a great passing attack. Mekhi Lemon is an absolute dude. They got some good tight ends. So you held them to 32 points, but they were getting whatever they wanted. 5 drives of 70-plus yards, Joey, and you just didn't have an answer for them. So, yes, good plays by USC, but Illinois looks overmatched by these good offenses in the Big Ten. You got a couple more of them coming up. That's a concern. Is Ohio State could be good. I don't think Ohio State's passing attack is as good as Indiana's or USC's, but Washington's could be. So, that's a concern going up against these elite teams. But to get out with a win despite that was significant.
Yeah, I think, we have to point out Illinois had USC at 3rd and 15, had USC at 3rd and 16, 2 pass attempts that go for a first down. They had them at 3rd and 10, goes for 9 yards. They convert the 4th down in the first quarter. Those are, you've got to get off the field on those, and they felt like they could get what they wanted in the passing attack. They did. Tanner Heckel had a tough game. I mean, you're going to have a tough game when Mekhi Lemon is sitting across from you. Going to learn from that, but they were going at it, right? I did think if you want to find a positive in the pass defense, Juice Clark matters. He is really, really good at football. I think you're going to see his ascent now as he is back healthy into this. I kind of heard someone after the game say, yeah, it's different when he's out there. And he's the guy who I think can
compete.
Yes, absolutely. He's feisty. I think he brings, like you said in the pregame, brings some juice. That's his, obviously his nickname. And I think that kind of that swagger, that attitude, that approach is meaningful for this secondary. But you got more challenges coming up, and you got to know Xavier Scott for effectively the remainder of the season. You're gonna have to survive some of these passing attacks, and that means, to tie it back, that means you're gonna have to keep these run games in check and try to make them into these third and longs. And like it does feel like Illinois is content making teams dink and dunk, nickel and dime down the field. So the yardage is gonna probably be there in some ways, and not trying to say, allowing 364 yards is something you're eager to try to do, but like we do have to look at yardage and at least understand why that's going up there. Aaron Henry's not bringing a great deal of pressure. They want to make quarterbacks sustain these drives, but you've got to be cleaner in the secondary. You've got to be more effective in the secondary.
Yeah, they're really relying on takeaways. It's a takeaway or bust defense right now. They're counting on teams to kind of take advantage of their miscues. Indiana didn't make any. USC had a couple, right? The penalties and the two takeaways. Dylan Rosiak, his first career interception. Leon Lowry continues to show up, man. Huge forced fumble to set the tone on that first drive where USC was driving on the field. You do have to tip your cap to USC. That was the fewest points they've had this year. That's a positive by one. Purdue held in the 33. They didn't settle for a lot of field goals in that, but they just had 45 points against Michigan State, scored 59, 75, or 73 in one game. So at least you were able to do that and give your offense a chance. But, man, you had no answer for them late. And part of that's Maeva and Lemon are really, really good. But it's just Illinois does not have the dudes in that secondary right now. And Matthew Bailey left the game with a shoulder. Brett Bielema said, don't know what his status will be. But kudos to Sabor Kareem for coming to the game and giving them some serviceable play. I don't know if it was phenomenal, right? But it was serviceable play. Ended up with how many tackles? 9 in this game. So I thought Sabor came in and battled. And as Bielema said, like, Elsie's choosing to redshirt and transfer after the season. He left the team. Sabor stayed with the team, burned his red shirt today. Now could get it back with a 5-for-5 ruling. But kudos to him. And that's the depth we're talking about, where a guy like him can step up. A guy like JoJo Hayden can come in and be a factor for you and have 7 tackles today. So kudos to Sabor for stepping up into that role today.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% with that. And Mac Resetich did leave the game last week. I thought Mac was kind of the backup at both of those spots. Remember Brett said that to us in Vegas on the pod. Sabor Kareem obviously gets that assignment and plays well. He's talented. But Sabor Kareem's a very talented player, got his opportunity out there, and it's a big moment. And as you said, it could have gone a different way. He could have opted to redshirt, and you're in 2025, man. You can't blame somebody for wanting to preserve another year of eligibility. That's just part of this. You have a clock that you have to make the most of your clock. So, I mean, that's Illinois got Justin Bowick in part because he did that, right? Like, it's just you've got to go that route. But, yeah, really, really big game for him to sub in there. And wasn't perfect, but that's the most significant reps we've seen him get.
Probably took too long to say this. David Olano.
I was just going to say, we haven't talked about David Olano yet. I can't say anything too loud. I got a noise for us next door.
He's a future NFL kicker. He's going to have a chance in the NFL, and just complete confidence. Brett Bielema, they could have gone for it on 4th down and just milk some more clock if they wanted to or whatever, and just line up a little bit harder. But no, you had to kick the field goal because you had a really good field goal kicker. I think he's an all Big Ten guy. Made one from 45 and 41 today. He's got ice in his veins, man. He's never lacking confidence. So kudos to David Olano. It's great to have that weapon. Haven't needed it to this point, but they needed it in that moment, and to have that guy is awesome.
He absolutely had the game ball afterwards. So it's like, you got a game ball. Like, this is like the coolest thing ever. For all the work he put in, he shouted out Mahoney, long snapper, and Keelan Crimmins, his holder. But yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to Brett Bielema running the ball early on that drive because he knows that you only have to get to probably the 30 to 35. I mean, you might get a little uncomfortable if you get in that 35 range, but you knew you didn't have to take a big chunk out of it. You knew you could wind the clock down and matriculate down the field. And you knew you got the trust in David Olano. He said, after that score, I kind of looked like more people started to look at me. And, that's a big moment. Like just understanding where this team was a week ago, understanding how well it played and the chance to walk it off here and not even a flinch for him. I saw Caleb Griffin, who's just seemingly just here.
Of course he's here. Because where else would he be?
He had that one against at Maryland.
Yeah.
In 20. Yeah. So Illinois specialists have not been a concern for the most part for Illinois for the last 8 years. Since I've been covering,
last couple of years,
Hugh Robertson struggled for the last couple of years. Keelan Crimmins has been good. Don't overlook your kickers and punters, man. They come up big in those moments. And David Olano, not even a flinch.
All right, if you want to send in your super chats, we'll get to your questions here coming up. I'll go through some of the other ones. Joey, I'm going to give you a break if you want to blow your nose. You're battling through us. You're sick game. Right. We're battling through it. I'll do a live read here, and then we'll get to all your guys' questions, and we'll wrap this thing up looking ahead to next week for Purdue. But I do want to tell you guys about Omaha Steaks. They're some of the best steaks in the world, some of the most tender cuts that I have had. But for your tailgate at the next Illini game, which is Ohio State in a couple of weeks, look out for Omaha Steaks and their chicken wings, their smash burgers, and their big deli-style franks. I ripped in a couple of those with my family last weekend. Some of the best dogs I've had. They taste like you go to a ballpark. My favorite are at the Chicago White Sox Stadium. These tasted like that. Those all-beef franks are really, really good. Perfect for your tailgates. And right now, during the Red Hot Sale event, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off by using code Illini at checkout. So Omaha Steaks. Check out their steak selection. The cuts of meat are fantastic. But you can also get fired up for your fall tailgating needs and grilling at omahasteaks.com. 50% off site-wide during the Red Hot Sale event, an extra $35 off by using code Illini at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code Illini at checkout. See site for details. Any other hits or misses we want to talk about? LZ, not a huge surprise here. I was wondering about this. We're starting to hear about this earlier in the week, but obviously when you have a 4-star prospect, and he's still, to this moment, the highest rated prep prospect to sign with Illinois under Brett Bielema. So to have him leave and, redshirt, he leaves the team. Bielema told us after the game, and he's going to redshirt. We'll see what the 5-for-5 rule, if that comes around, it would mean he wouldn't have to do this. But obviously he and his agent and his representatives and people around him decided that this is best for him. He was the number 5 receiver at this point, Joey. I thought Brett, he was really good about what he said about Malik, loves the kid, understands the decision. Obviously really liked him coming out of high school. He is a contributor, but he just didn't turn to that star player, and as Illinois added more competition, just didn't break through. And I think it was just the consistency with Malik. Plus, Justin Bullock proved to be pretty good. Hudson Clements proved to be pretty good, and so have Colin Dixon, who was in Malik's class, and Hank Beatty, who was the year before. So I get it. It just never reached the heights that you thought it could be when he signed. He's still a good player, and I think he'll have a chance to be a really good FBS player. I'm just interested to see where he goes. Does he try to go to another Power 4 school? Does he go down a level where I think he could be a stud? We'll see where Malik Elzy goes, but not the biggest surprise. And he and Sabur were kind of the guys we're wondering 4 games in what happens here, because they're very highly touted prospects who just haven't broken through yet.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. I thought Brett Bielema handled it well. I think to paraphrase, he said, I feel bad because I didn't help him get to where he could go. I thought Brett just absolutely pushed all the right buttons and how he approached that and said it. And look, we have to – Malik Elzy at one point was committed to Luke Fickell at Cincinnati. Is there a possible reunion there next year with Luke Fickell? I don't know. Right?
I see where Luke Fickell is. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see where he ends up. But the writing had been on the wall. He didn't play but 5 snaps at Indiana, and there were the 5 snaps in garbage time. You get it. And I understand if you're a fan, you're like, man, bummer. Yeah. Malik Elzy's a talented kid. He's obviously looks as what you want wide receivers to look like. It just didn't play out here for Illinois. And you on the other side of that didn't play out because you're getting good production from Hank Beatty, from Colin Dixon. You go bring in a Hudson Clement, a Justin Bowick, and those guys are producing at a pretty good clip here. So I get it from the league side of things.
Yeah, receiver's not a problem right now. We thought, would it be early in the offseason? All offseason, we talked about it. Hank Beatty through 5 games, 27 catches, 383 yards. He's a star, absolute star. Colin Dixon breaking through, right? 14 catches, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns. Hudson's been solid. Justin Bowick, all he does seemingly is catch touchdown catches. And now I wonder, you saw Alex Kapka-Jones get in the game, but at some point, Joey, do we see Braden Trimble? Do we see him come through and get on the field a little bit more at some point? Also a hit, like we saw some tight ends in the passing game today. Cole Rusk a catch, Tanner Arkin a catch. Nice to see those guys involved.
I think Abney had one too.
Yeah, 3 catches by the tight ends.
Yeah, it's a group that we talked about needing to play better. I thought they came out as a blocking game and obviously as pass catchers and really gave Illinois what it needed. Illinois brought out the barge. I thought they may have docked the barge for a little bit here after the lack of success at Indiana. The barge.
Can I say though? Great to have a counter on the barge, to pass it out of the barge. It's just one of the tight ends fell, right? And like Luke only had one option. So I like that they did something different on the barge.
Does the barge feel like kind of an FU formation? Like this is who we are. We're going to outpower you. We're going to run the ball. Like that feels as much about a message as it does about effectiveness. Now,
agreed. Great point.
It did not work at Indiana in that way, but it just feels like they dial that up when they want to really strut it a little bit there.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's get to some of your super chats. Mark Fonger, 1999 super chat. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. This is what we all thought this offense would look like this year. Fagan looks like he has figured it out, running with confidence. Cheers. We appreciate that, Mark. Yeah, Fagan, outside of that fumble, man, great game. You see, get him in space, and you get him to the second level, man. He's got that burst. He can get through people. There was only like one run that I really thought he looked indecisive. But otherwise, you see when that offensive line gets downhill, what Caden Fagan can do, what Khalil Valentine can do. There were a couple runs where he just showed the juice, 7.4 yards per carry for Khalil.
Showed the patience, too. That is one of the
physicality.
things I'm most impressed with him.
He's really embracing contact now. But, yeah, the running backs were strong today outside of those 2 fumbles, which are big red marks. But Fagan, from scrimmage, 127 yards on 17 touches. He can be a workhorse, man. When the offensive line is doing its job, he's decisive, and you get him in space a little bit. So, yeah, that was really good to see. Yeah,
it was. I did like that pitch they had to him in the red zone. We thought he had an option to pass. You asked him. He did not.
He looked at me like, what? No.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think it's like I didn't pass. I'm going to tell people I didn't have the option to pass. We're going to put that one back in the playbook for when we need to. But I feel like that you think of him, you see Caden physically, and you think, between the tackles, I think he is as effective at his best when he's out in space and he's able to build up a head of steam. There was one play, that pitch, you would have liked to see him maybe drop the shoulder and go into a defensive back, but giving him the carries early felt like I looked at you, I said, they're going to just try to wear USC down with Caden Fagan. And we talked about it when he was a freshman. I think one of the things he does so well, he almost leaps forward at the tackle, right? Like when you think it's like a 1 or 2 yard gain, suddenly it's 3 or 4, and those things doesn't seem like a lot, but he's a long guy. He falls forward very, very well. It's an underrated gift. But I think Brett Bielema said that screen pass. I asked Caden afterwards. I said, was that the same as Minnesota? And he said, yeah, the exact same play. Like the only difference was he was in motion at Minnesota. He wasn't in motion here. Brett Bielema called it, I think, and this is pretty close to a direct quote, 250 pounds of love running down the sideline. And yeah, he toe tapped to stay in bounds. That's the thing. You see him, like, everyone's like, oh, is he fast? You see that? It's like, yeah, he's fast. You got to let him get that head of steam.
Yeah, that's what makes him so intriguing. This from Illinois Sports Information. Bielema's 7 ranked wins as Illinois' head coach is 3rd most in Illinois history. 5 years. He's already got 7 of them. Behind only Ray Elliott's 23. He was here for 18 years. John Malkovich had 8 during a 4-year stretch. It's a pretty good stretch of Illinois football. So pretty awesome for Illinois football against these ranked opponents. Ricky, $10 super chat. Thank you, Ricky. Luke is on the Mount Rushy of Illini athletes. I don't know about that, but of all time. Like there's a lot of great athletes. Dick Butkus, Red Granger, the football players on there. But when we were going to Indiana, I told you, like, if they win and Luke has a better game than Fernando Mendoza, we got to have a conversation about where he ranks among Illinois quarterbacks of all time. He might be on that list, right? Like, I don't know exactly where everyone would rank them, but Kittner would be on there. And he's the first Illinois quarterback to have a passing touchdown, rushing touchdown, and receiving touchdown since Kittner in 1999, the Micron PC Bowl. Josh Whitman would remember that one. And then, Kittner, is Tony Eason or Jeff George? Is it Dave Wilson? Is it Jack Trudeau? There's so many guys, but Altmyer's put himself in that company. He's just a damn good quarterback, and he's definitely the best quarterback, I think, since Kittner. And I'll let people who watched every game decide whether they think it's Altmyer or Kittner, but that's really good company. That's Mount Rushmore of Illinois quarterback company. I think he's putting himself in.
Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, one, he passes the eye test, and two, winning a lot of games, right? I mean, that is the mark of it. They're winning a ton of football games.
Yeah. I know some people say Juice Williams, he had one of the better years. I don't know if the career, like the numbers are there because he played a lot, but there just wasn't as much winning as Luke Altmyer. So one great year of winning, and then after that, just kind of underachieved. Part of that was he was hurt. But I think I'd put Altmyer ahead of that. Paul, $10 super chat. Thank you, Paul. Was Lemon they're really that good, or were they just picking on Tanner Heckel because of his inexperience? Also, did Heckel get injured on that last touchdown?
I think yes is all the way around. I think Heckel, his hand wrist may have been banged up on that last one. Yes, they were going at him. That is what good quarterbacks and good coordinators do when you have an inexperienced guy going up against your really like your best playmaker. Jacoby Lane played very sparingly late, and yes, Lemon is very good, and Lemon is going to make money playing this. So yes, on all the way around. I don't know, I don't know a ton about his hand wrist, but it definitely was down for a second, and I think he probably banged that up.
Mekhi Lemon's probably a first-round draft pick. If not, he's a top 50 guy. Like he's one of those dudes. He's one of the best receivers in the Big Ten. I'm sure he's leading the Big Ten in every stat receiving-wise right now. He's a stud. And that's what you should do is when you have a stud going up against an inexperienced guy, this Tanner Heckel going through it, the growing pains of going through it, just like Xavier Scott had 2 or 3 years ago, right?
It's like Jaheim Clark had last year.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys are going to go through it. And that's part of, learning is, man, the Big Ten, they're going to pick on you until you prove you can do it every game. So, hopefully Tanner Heckel gets better because of it. They're going to need him. And hopefully he makes incremental strides every week. But Lemon's a dude. He's a dude. He kind of reminds me of Jordan Addison. He was a first-round draft pick as well. So, no, he's really, really good. And you're going to face more of those guys. I mean, Washington's got him. Denzel Boston's a potential top 50 guy. Of course, Jeremiah Smith might be the best player in college football. Carnell Tate is really, really good. Got to see some strides from that secondary. You do need to see them get a little bit better. And hopefully Juice Clark knocked off some of the rust today, made some plays, had a big pass breakup on 4th down. Gabe Akis, I'm interested to see how many pressures PFF got for him today. He was great. James Thompson was great getting pressure today. So while they didn't have a lot of sacks, there were some key moments where they got pressure. But Jaden Maeva, man, when he sat in the pocket, I didn't like him as much. Yeah. When he had to make some plays with pressure on him, man, he made some plays, kept his eyes downfield. That's a really good USC defense. Or offense and passing attack. So for Illinois to at least have a chance in that one by getting a couple takeaways, that was big because this is a legit passing offense. And USC's got a chance to win, 9 games and be in that college football playoff hunt. Of course, Illinois hurt them today.
Yeah, I think you also have to – this is what this Illinois defense is. They're going to let teams dink and dunk, but they also – this is the value of takeaways. It's such an elementary thing. But when this defense is getting those takeaways, you see how much that can do, and that's what's been missing in the last 2 games for Illinois. But, yeah, just be curious what that secondary ultimately looks like. Obviously, have to ask about Matthew Bailey over the course of the next week and see where that goes. But I think Juice Clark, that's a big one.
All right, can I give one more hit?
There was one that you teased to me before we came on. Was it a miss?
It was a miss. It was the Big Ten review. That's the one.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that was my biggest miss. Duke just demolished Syracuse today, 38-3. I thought that win would age well. It's starting to age a little bit better. I mean, they got down to NC State, and you're like, oh man, maybe that win won't age very well. Mensa is awesome. Like, he's really, really good. And Syracuse was really good coming into this game. So to win 38-3 like that on the road at Syracuse, that win could age well. And I think this win is going to age well, Joey. That offense is legit. And, USC, I think they got a tough schedule, but that's a really good team you beat. So I'm just saying, like, today was one of the better wins of the Brett Bielema era. Duke was still a good win. Like, the defense forced those takeaways. The offense responded. So those are two really good wins, and it gets us to where I think we thought they would be. It's just that 53-point loss left a bad taste. But those are two wins I think are going to age really well.
Yeah, I agree. I was just looking at some of Duke's stats. Duke rushed for 235 yards today. They completely abandoned ship on that in the second half against Illinois. Mensa, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, he's kind of stacking those age-well wins. Tulane gave us a little scare on our Duke take when we're like, that's going to age well. It's like, oh, gosh, maybe not. But, both those teams are going to be 8-9 win teams, Duke and USC.
Iowa giving Indiana everything they thought. Kurt Cignetti's right. Whatever he says, he's usually pretty right. He thought Indiana would give them a much tougher task. And Iowa does what Iowa does, man. They play defense. It's 10-10 right now. Early in the fourth quarter, they really limited Indiana's offense. And seems like Iowa's offensive line is playing really, really well. So it'll be interesting to see where that one goes, Joey.
Yeah, it will be. Can we play one game? I hope he hears this. Can we let Dom, like the carnival games where you try to throw it as fast as you can to see what the mileage reads? Like when you try, can we let Dom try to throw his best fastball, St. Dom, and see what his best fastball looks like here in the next 3 minutes? He's usually coming out firing about 85 in these post-game pods every game. I want to see how fast how good his arm is here.
All right, I'll give him a minute if he wants to fire off his hottest take after this game. But head to Purdue this weekend. It is a rivalry game. It is a game Illinois has not played well over the last couple of decades. Purdue has won 15 of the last 20. Illinois barely got out alive last year against a terrible Purdue team. Ryan Walters is no longer there. That's a good thing for Illinois. It's a great thing for Purdue that he is gone. But they've been a little feisty. Their defense isn't very good. Purdue's given up a lot of points, but they have an off week this week. They've had 2 weeks now to prepare for Illinois. And Ryan Brown can move the ball a little bit. Devin Mockabee's a pretty good running back. They've done a pretty good job of getting some good players in the transfer portal. And you just know, Joey, they're going to be better coached than they were last year. So not a game you can take lightly. You got to take this momentum and continue to get better and go into Purdue ready for a battle. Because I think this could be a little bit more of a battle than you think, especially in that first half. I do have confidence that Luke Altmyer in this offense will be able to score points, but defense has got to clean up some things to make sure you take care of business next week and get to 5-1 and get that Cannon Trophy back in Champaign.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. My last hit, and it kind of ties in to Purdue. Illinois, outside of Xavier Scott, we left Bloomington. You and I left Bloomington collectively talking about, man, these injuries. Oh, my goodness. And it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be for Illinois coming into today. We'll watch Matthew Bailey. We'll watch Tanner Heckel. But kind of those moments where you feel like, oh, who is going to be left as they get down to the bare bones of their secondary in Indiana, ended up bouncing back. Okay, and I think you need that with Matthew Bailey this week, with Tanner Heckel this week. It was a tough game, but you need that.
Yeah. All right, Tom, $5 super chat. We'll wrap up with you, Tom. What is the number one issue to fix for the rest of the season? O-line playing better and we're healthier, but linebacker? I didn't think linebacker was – I thought Dylan Rosiak had a really good game.
Like flirting with star of the game, good game.
Yeah. I think I hit that one. You got that one right. I got the what was it? Pick to click with Dylan Rosiak. I thought he was really good. I thought JoJo played well. Didn't see a lot of Malachi Hood, felt like today.
Yeah, I agree. Hey,
go back and watch.
I think James Cruz played some good snaps of football.
Yes.
I thought he struggled was that Duke?
He's struggled most of the season so far, but yes, I thought he
played good snaps.
Solid reps. Yeah, number one thing, just got to be more competitive in that secondary. And I think Juice Clark helps you. Getting Matthew Bailey back will help you. I think Miles Scott had a good game today. Kept everything in front of him. Tackled really well. Yeah, you got to get that star position better. Tanner Heckel, just keep getting him better. I thought Caleb Patterson had a chance for a pick, man, and he just didn't go get it.
It's like he went over instead of under.
Yeah, there's just they got to be a little bit more competitive in that secondary, and I think they're getting a little bit of pressure, but, as they go against quarterbacks who aren't quite as good, I wonder what their pressure package looks like if he gets a little bit more aggressive. But, yeah, you just got to be a little bit better in that pass defense. And I think that's the biggest issue because I think the offensive line builds off today. We've seen this. It's kind of been what they do, and it's been frustrating. But they take a little time to figure out what they're good at and figure out their identity. And once we start really doubting them, they respond. So hopefully this is a sign of things to come for the offensive line.
Yeah, and I'm still mentally not ruling out Torrey Cox as the star position. If Brett Bielema hinted that Caleb Patterson may have been a little bit dinged up, but if you can get Patterson and Clark outside, maybe Torrey Cox inside, that'll be something. I thought they may have done it by this point. Obviously, Clark's first game back today, but I wonder if that's something they can really, really rep, or if that's something you see maybe after the first open week when you get a little more time to rep it.
Not a hot one by St. Tom. Purdue is the trap game, I fear.
This dude's coming up on BP. I wanted a heater. This dude's got some of the fastest fastballs we've seen after a loss. He comes in throwing BP after a win. Come on, Dom.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for us. We appreciate you guys listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. More than 400 people at one point on this live podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe to us, hit that notifications bell for whenever we come on live. You guys will be alerted for it. Also, if you're listening on the podcast, follow us, rate us, review us. That helps us out. So take 10 seconds to do that if you're listening on Apple Pod, or just give us a rating on the Spotify angle of things. But we got plenty coming up. Joey's going to talk about the bounce back win. I'll have my 5 takeaways from this game as well. We'll have a notebook, all your post-game content coming up. Plus a lot of recruits, Joey. It's nice to have that kind of win in front of recruits, some big-time targets in the class of 2027 that we caught up with. And basketball. Kyle Tosk was here. He caught up with some of the top recruits that were on campus. What an environment to bring them to, Joey, and then to have them feeling good out the door with a field rush. You can debate whether it was a field rush, but it was just the excitement of a game winner. That's good to have. It's great to have that kind of atmosphere here at Illinois when you can bring recruits. It's not a half-empty stadium. This is a sellout stadium. Big noon kickoff here, an exciting ranked-on-ranked game. It's a big difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference. I also think, man, those games that this recruiting staff and this coaching staff have put their chips in, the last 2 years that's gone on okay. Ohio State's another big one. We know they've got some guys coming to town for, but so far they've kind of hit on those.
All right, for Joey Wagner, I'm Jeremy Werner. Everybody have a great day. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer podcast.